Hi, my name is Victor Gonzalez, and these are my teammates.
Noe Ortiz.
Drake Stevens, Stevenson.
And we're going to present to you SolarChain, which is a rather new energy solution that we came up with based on one of the ideas that David's professor had. And so pretty much this is based off the idea that we can implement a large, or rather small in this case, solar array network within a community so that it would be able to track its energy efficiency, its energy consumption, and deficits for each individual household, communicate with each and every other households within the network, and then pretty much interchange energy based on a specific token, based off of the Ethereum blockchain. So essentially it's combining two rather new technologies, well, not necessarily rather new, but for example, the rise in the availability in solar panels has come up a lot in the news, as well as blockchain. So we thought this was a rather new and novel way to implement that. And so what our network and our system would pretty much implement is that whenever a specific node in the network detects an energy deficit, it would contact the other nodes within the network, or per se the other houses in the neighborhood, that hey, I'm experiencing an energy deficit. Is there anyone else that would be kindly enough to lend me, let's say, 10 kilowatts per hour, or just 30 kilowatts, and in exchange I'll give you one token based on the current exchange that the system would implement. And then pretty much the same thing if there's a surplus, saying, hey, I'm a node in the network that I'm trying to sell energy to anyone who would pretty much have it in need. And so pretty much that would communicate it to all the other nodes, perform the transactions on the fly, and the user would not have to constantly monitor their energy usage, or pretty much would rather have it on a dashboard, on an app or something. And if not, the user would also prefer to store it for their own personal use on a lithium-ion battery. And given that this project is a rather large scale, we're thinking of implementing it on a much smaller scale, say with Raspberry Pis or Arduinos. And so pretty much the performance metrics that we desire to see for our project is that it would record a transaction, perform it to its completion based on the time frame, and add that next singular block to the chain as an entire ledger fills with people performing transactions with each other within the network. And so Noe over here pretty much tackled the main design issues that we would have. Drake as well for the electrical and engineering aspects, along with Beryl. David and I tackled the software aspects and how to implement blockchain. And I'll pretty much open it up to any questions if you guys have any.
So which abstraction layer kind of are you operating on? Are you working on the blockchain IP link, or you're focusing on the getting the PVs on the blockchain network, or are you trying to be a facilitator for other people to use this? Or it sounds like you have a pretty large scope.
It's pretty much all the above.
How do I physically get the energy between houses?
That's the aspect of it. It's pretty much each house is connected to each other within the network. And so at the heart of it is
But today I'm already on a utility grid. Mm-hmm. And for instance, in my house, I get energy off the grid for 12.5 cents a kilowatt hour. I put it back on for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this seems like a really, and unless I have a way to bypass that.
Well, there's certain private networks that are allowed in the Texas grid, and this would fall under that category. And sort of what you're saying is, you're saying you can buy it from the electric company really cheap, but you can only send it back for pennies versus what they're doing.
Right.
So this is arguing that, well, in your case, maybe you could sell it to your neighbor for 6 cents, more than you would be able to sell to the grid, and they'd be able to buy it for 6 cents, and yet it would still be able to coexist with your already existing.
Which is great, but I don't know how to physically get it to his house.
And our product would hopefully be physically connection, as well as the nodes, as well as being able to connect to your PV panels that the house might have. Your focus is to basically use the existing utility infrastructure and some private regulatory framework to let you get it to your neighbor. Yes.
So you would hook up a solar panel grid to a AC grid.
Well, we're still in debate whether it should be connected to the actual Texas grid, whether we should just connect it physically outside of the grid and just have them both
Switch or
coexist.
something.
And,
Yeah, distribution box is the main key component here, which will do all the power
It
cases.
seems like blockchain is a trivial problem compared to running an extension cord over the fence.
That's
Are
what
you thinking city scale, a neighborhood scale, or 4 houses scale?
At the current rate, we're thinking small first and then pretty much expanding.
we're thinking starting with 2 or 3 houses and then limiting to ourselves to like how far we can just connect before we turn into like a whole city scale where we need a grid, a whole infrastructure, a whole regulation, etc.
Hence the reason we chose to implement it with blockchain.
Is this Fahim that?
Yes.
All right, let's